Welcome to this week's episode, or this episode of what do we call this? Hidden Creatures. Welcome to this episode of Hidden Creatures. Some days my brain works better than other days. Yeah, a journey into the McFap world. Rainey, do you want to explain McFap for us, please?
McFap means mythical, cryptid, fae, alien, and the paranormal.
Cool. Yeah, today we have Alastaire joining us from New York.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We're going to hand it over to him in a minute, and he's going to take us on a cryptid journey. Before that, if y'all like what we do and are feeling up to it, we recommend taking a jump on over to the Alabama Take, which is our sort of the family of podcasts that we belong to. Do a bunch of different podcasts over there covering, pop culture and sports and books and music and Star Wars. I do another podcast on there called Punk Love and Compassion, interviewing people from the greater punk rock community on community and sort of what that means and what it looks like and the importance of that. So if you're into any of that kind of stuff, take a jump over there. Everybody would appreciate it. Couple things about today's episode. It is raining where we are today, so our dogs are inside. You will probably hear them as they come to one of us and demand attention. We usually have them outside while we're recording, so we don't have to deal with that, but whatever. They're our pets. We don't make them sit out in the rain. So there's that. And what else, Rainey? Am I forgetting anything?
We are not professionals.
Yeah, we're not professionals. So don't expect professional level stuff from us, as evidenced by the fact I couldn't remember the name of the podcast when we started.
When you guys say not professionals, do you mean not professional podcasters or not professional cryptozoologists?
Either.
I think the second one. How do you become a professional? Is there like a certification? How do I take that? I'd like to become one.
Well, like I know you can get like your doctorate in like parapsychology or paranormal whatever. Mm-hmm. Because I know somebody who has gotten their like PhD in paranormal stuff. I don't know if there is one for cryptozoology or not.
Okay, I'll look into it after this.
But regardless, we are novices on entering the McFap world. Yeah. So anyway, Alastaire, if you would like to kick us off.
Yeah.
Or not kick us off, but to start us, I guess.
Yeah, of course. So for this podcast, we're going to dive into the ocean. I'm fascinated by any kind of ocean-based cryptid because it just feels more likely to me. Because, I looked this up ahead of time. Like, we've only mapped about 28%, 29% of the global seafloor. And that's using, high-resolution sonar technology. What we've actually visually explored is something like 0.001% of the ocean floor. So, the idea that there's a giant monster living in the woods of a, suburb of Burlington, Vermont seems less likely to me than there's something in these depths of the ocean that we've like never even seen through any kind of technology. Right. And I think one thing to support that is cryptozoology's biggest success story, which is the giant squid. For so long, it was sort of this mythical thing that sailors told, this giant squid, the kraken. And then I think it was like the late 1800s, the first physical specimens washed ashore. First time caught on video was in 2004. So the fact that we've had one success story so far of these huge ocean cryptids, it gives us hope there'll be more.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with, are you guys familiar with the Bloop?
No, but I would love to be.
Okay, this one fascinates me. So I'm going to start with like the facts, and then we can sort of speculate wildly at the end of it. But basically in 1997, there's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also called as, I don't know if it's NOAA or NOAA, but it's essentially a U.S. national scientific agency, right? They forecast weather, they chart the seas, they do things like, endangered species protection, deep sea exploration. So they have these stations all over the world. And in 1997, one of these stations picks up, I guess on like sonar, right? One of this super low frequency underwater sound, right? And it's in the remote region of the South Pacific Ocean, just off the southern tip of South Africa or South America. Sorry. But multiple stations capture the same sound. So they're able to basically say how loud it is. And, in 2001, the director of NOAA at the time has an interview with CNN being like, okay, one possibility is this is like glacial ice calving, which is essentially chunks of ice breaking off glaciers. But then in 2002, the same guy does another interview with the New Scientist Journal saying that he actually thinks that the sound was of animal origin. And the only thing about that theory is that based on how loud it would have to be bigger than any known animal on the planet, right? So it would have to be bigger than a blue whale, or at the very least, better at making noise, like more effective.
Yeah.
So actually, you know what I could maybe do? I could play the sound.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can do this. Can you hear that at all?
Uh-huh.
Now, again, that might not sound like much to us, but whoever's on the other end of those, like that was apparently sort of noteworthy. Now it's still playing.
Yeah, there's like a I'm going to say like a bubble sound.
Yeah,
like a bloop.
Exactly. Yeah. So essentially, basically, like they picked up this sound that sounds animal, and if it was animal, it would have to be the biggest animal on planet Earth. And then one piece of follow up before we sort of get into possibilities is in 1999, same organization, NOAA, picks up another unexplained sound by the Bransfield Strait just off Antarctica. I feel like you love Antarctica, don't you, Bo?
Yes, I do.
Just off the Bransfield Strait. So that's like when you see the map of Antarctica, there's the kind of like one piece, that squiggly piece that comes off. And this one was similar sounding and was sort of the same idea, right? It sounded animal and was, if it was, it would have to be the biggest animal. They call this one Julia because it actually weirdly almost, per their claims, almost sounds like a human voice. Let's see if I can pull that sound up real quick. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and again, these are like 16x the original speed, so probably makes them sound a little more noteworthy. But sort of same idea, maybe a couple thousand miles apart, two sounds that have sort of, some of the scientific community is pretty sure that it's something with ice flows and glacial, but it does seem like, there's some question there, and there's a big community that thinks it's some kind of, underwater giant creature out there. I'll stop there because then after this, I'm basically just coming up with some ideas based on other cryptids, but I'll stop there for any thoughts or questions.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I haven't heard of either of those before. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple episodes ago, I tried to sort of dive into some Antarctic cryptids. And one of the ones I looked into was called the Ninjin.
Oh, yeah, I came up on this.
Yeah. And at first I was pretty stoked, and then I had my heart broken because it doesn't really exist.
How do you know that?
Just like through all of the research, like all the research is like, it was just made up. Like it just doesn't exist. Yeah. And like I looked into quite a few sites, and all of the sites were like, this is how it was reported. And and all of them were like, it was just completely made up.
Okay. Interesting. Just by decades and decades of people all it
was a newer one. Like there was one report of it from like the late 1800s, but like all the other reports were from like the early mid 2000s, from reportedly from Japanese sailors, and they're like reported pictures of it. But like all of the ones from like the 2000s, like all of them have been debunked. But if they wouldn't have been debunked, I would have said that's the Ninja.
How big was it? Do you remember?
Big, like 90 feet.
Okay. I think the blue whale is like 120, so I'm going to kind of make that the dividing line of what's feasible. But again, he also said in that quote, right, either larger or just more effective at making noise. So there's some wiggle room there, right? We don't know that. Maybe just shout the loudest.
Right. And the Ninja was from like the Antarctic region, but I think one was reportedly seen off the coast of Namibia,
Okay.
but the rest were all like sort of Antarctic based.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, what do you think, Rainey?
About the nation?
No, about these noises.
Oh, they're interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think could be making them?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Well, why don't I dive into some options, right? And then we can
Yeah,
sort of walk
please.
through what we think is feasible. So, we have sort of some historic, almost like mythological options, right? And then we have the more modern day potentials, right? So we got, as we talked about earlier, the Kraken, right? That was the big thing for, many like centuries, right? The sailors would say they saw it. They're like, okay, is it the giant squid? Still bigger than any giant squid that has ever been, proven to exist. So maybe there is an even bigger one out there. The other one, obviously, the megalodon, prehistoric shark that we know was alive. People say, okay, when it went extinct, 3.6 million years ago? But again, as we mentioned of how little we know about the ocean, that seems like a pretty declarative statement to make. Like, I found out these 2 legal terms, which is interesting to me because they apply to, I think, all of cryptozoology, but especially claims like this, right? Where it's called the absence of evidence versus the evidence of absence, right? And so the absence of evidence just means what it sounds like, right? There's no evidence to support that this happened. So there's no evidence to support that a megalodon is still around because there's been no sightings or samples, right? And then the more difficult thing, but more conclusive thing to prove is the evidence of absence, which is essentially definitive proof that something didn't happen or something doesn't exist. And I don't think they have that,
Gotcha. Well, yeah, and like you said earlier, there's just so much about the ocean that we know nothing about.
Yeah.
There's that crazy fish that was just discovered.
I don't know about this.
I'm saying recently, but it was, I think it was early 2000s. And it was like basically a prehistoric fish that they thought was extinct that came up in like a fishing net.
Okay.
I don't remember the name. I'm sure I can find it real quick. Just give me a second.
Yeah, I would imagine they're still finding new fish species.
Oh, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but it's like the coelacanth.
Oh, this
COE.
Yeah. Is it coelacanth?
Yeah, COELACANTH.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that one was discovered in 1938. But I want to say there was one that was discovered in the early 2000s. But they were thought to have been extinct for like 70 million years before they found those in South Africa.
Yeah, and those are pretty big. I mean, they're not obviously this big, but I feel like I remember those being like 5 or 6 feet. So the fact that something that large could stay hidden, when I feel like the only land animals people are discovering now are insects or it's so microscopic, I do think that speaks to the possibilities the ocean holds. Obviously, the megalodon also kind of having a comeback. There's the movies, right? The Meg and the Meg 2, which I only saw the Meg, but always fun to see anything like that. The next one I'm going to say is if you've heard of the Lusca, which you might know more commonly as the origin, if you've ever heard or seen the movie Sharktopus, which is essentially head of a shark, body of an octopus.
God, no, I need to see it.
Yeah. Does the Sci-Fi Channel still exist? There's a question for you.
I think so, but I'm sure it exists in like some newfangled way.
Randy, you ever watch that channel? Are you aware that it exists? Okay.
No.
It's essentially, it's a lot of things, but they had all these original movies, which were extremely funny to watch because it was just very low budget special effects. But I think you'll find a lot of these sea animals probably have their own movie on the Sci-Fi Channel. That was a well of inspiration for them. But there was a series of movies called Sharktopus. But essentially, these are, what do they sound like? Head of a shark, body of an octopus. A lot of sightings near the Bahamas, starting in like the 1930s, going through today. It's always kind of around these blue holes. You guys know what blue holes are? Mm-hmm. They're essentially, right, like otherwise shallow areas. They're these sudden deep holes, right? So there's Dean's blue hole off the Bahamas that's suddenly 200 meters or like 650 feet deep. And if you ever watch a video of someone like diving into these, it it really gives you, it looks up this word, hang on, thalassophobia, which is the fear of deep water and the unknown that exists, which I find is probably a good overarching term for this whole episode. But if you ever see a video of those, they're crazy. Like they're just so deep and dark. But apparently these sightings happen kind of around those. But again, that's the Bahamas, the Caribbean, so a long way away from where these sounds were heard.
Yeah. I went snorkeling in Hawaii one time. I don't know the rules of the ocean. I've always been a land person. I like mountains and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, and it wasn't a guided snorkeling adventure. It was, I went and rented some snorkeling stuff and just went swimming. And so I was swimming on like the deeper side of the reef.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was swimming along the reef and the deeper side and just sort of swimming, and I couldn't see the bottoms. I was looking at the pretty fish on the reef, and all of a sudden I looked down and there was a giant mouth coming up at me.
Oh.
And I'm in the water, but there's a giant mouth coming at you. So I like, did the manly thing and just screamed and immediately like took in a mouthful of water, and it was a giant ray.
Oh, wow.
It came up and I was swimming and it sort of curved underneath me, and I swore it was going to eat me. It was maybe 15, 20 feet beneath me when I saw it and couldn't see anything before I saw the mouth. Immediately recovered that. I was like, I'm not swimming. I'm going to go back to where I can see the bottom. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what's out there?
Yeah. My honeymoon, we went to this little island in Mexico called Isla Holbox. But one of the things they're famous for is you can swim with the whale sharks, which I think are the biggest fish, right? Because anything bigger than that in the water is like a mammal, right? Like a whale. But they're huge. They're like, I don't even know, 40 feet long. And it's scary because, like, ask someone, they're not going to, they'll say, they're totally harmless. But you kind of think to yourself, if this guy just sort of swished his tail at me at the wrong time, I feel like I would go flying or, open his mouth when I was in the wrong place. So you got to respect something that size, no matter, even if they say that it poses no physical threat to you.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, because they're just these immense, powerful creatures.
Yeah, that's why the ocean's terrifying.
Yeah. I think of all the options that you threw out there, it could be any of them.
Yeah. I got actually one more, and then we can sort of So this thing called the trunko, I think is how you say it. It's basically like spelled Trunko, and it was in 1924. These sailors off South Africa claimed that they saw this giant white-haired beast fighting 2 killer whales, and then I don't know if it was same day or a couple days later, something extremely similar looking washes up on a beach in the area. And it was apparently there for 10 days, but no scientist came to analyze it. And no one really has any answers to what it was. Apparently there's 4 photos that exist because, again, this was the 1920s, so it probably was really hard to get a photo of something. I think that might have been the time when you had the big exploding light bulb on the camera. Right. So it wasn't like you had
like the big box you had to set up on.
Exactly. It wasn't like you had an iPhone you could snap a picture of. But if you go on the internet, there's a couple old, grainy, out of focus photos of this big sort of washed up carcass. One more interesting thing, because, again, South Africa, you can imagine pretty close to Antarctica where these sounds have been heard, or at least in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it now. Yeah. That's fascinating.
You guys should have or maybe you have this, but like an accompanying website, because I feel like so many of these things, there's very cool photo evidence or like a little video. So I feel like that'd be a cool addition, or someplace you can kind of post the accompanying images.
Yeah, we probably should. Like, we have a social media thing. I'm just not great at posting on it.
Gotcha.
But, it is what it is. But yeah, Yeah, I had never heard of that before.
No, that just came up as I was doing a deep dive on the bloop, because I feel like the bloop itself, it's so unknown that there's not much additional info other than these sounds happened and we don't know what it is. So I was just looking on this at the same time as sort of some potential options in my mind.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rainey? You look skeptical.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of a picture of a squonk. I'm seeing like ugly dolls. I'll see like football things.
What are you looking up? Trunko?
What are you looking?
Yeah, trunk.
Interesting.
Type in Trunko cryptid.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a college somewhere with an elephant mascot named Trunko, and that's messing the results.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm seeing some actual.
I feel like another issue with now is that, it's hard to find these actual photos because, especially since AI, so everyone's just posting. It's just, slopping up the internet with fake, actual cryptid photos.
Yeah, and that's the problem I have with most sites now. They're like, oh, we have photo evidence of whatever. And I look at it and it's like, yeah, that's obviously not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's, no, it's nothing.
Exactly.
Or like they'll have like blown up the video or the picture so much that all you can see is this like a very pixelated, out of focus blob looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
can't trust photos.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the problems I have with this field in general is that I'm not like a 100% believer.
Okay.
I've had some weird, unexplainable things happen to me that don't fit into my rational, scientific description of the world.
Okay.
I really want to believe. I'm just not a 100% committed believer. But like, there are some people who I know very well who have also experienced weird things. And I believe them 100% that they experienced whatever it is they say they experienced. And so I have this combating thought process in my head.
Yeah.
I completely believe these people are telling or experience what they told me they experienced. While at the same time, I'm just not 100% convinced these things are real.
Yeah, and I think that's the fun of this field is a lot of them I just think is like a cool story and someone came up with it and it's interesting to learn more about it. But I'm like, I don't know if that probably isn't that true. Like the Jersey Devil, right? It's like this animal that's just walking around New Jersey that there's, not actually any physical evidence of. But, to some extent, I think there's some that are more believable than others. And I do think the ocean is the home for a lot of them. Ray, you host this podcast. Which ones do you believe, actually exists versus it's just like a very cool idea and fun to talk about? Is there a couple that you like fully believe in? It's probably a big question.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, but like you've had a couple weird experiences, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you guys are not just about cryptids, right? You got the whole paranormal, aliens, all that going.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we all agree on that because it's pretty vain to think we're the only planet that life could live on.
Yeah.
Right. The universe is too vast a place for us to be
alone.
Okay, now say what you just said, but say the ocean instead of the universe. I'm going to sell you guys on this.
I like to be challenged. I agree with you. There's just a lot of weird things that live in the ocean. Like, sea cucumbers.
Yeah.
They're weird.
We don't talk
creatures.
about how weird some of these things are. I saw a seahorse the other day at a little museum, and I was like, we don't talk about how weird this animal is. And no one would believe it exists if we didn't see it all the time.
Well, and I think we give ourselves too much credit in the intelligence realm. But like octopus or octopi, they are just fascinating creatures.
Yeah.
And their problem solving and, logic and what they can figure out, like dolphins as well, or killer whales.
Remember that whole thing with all the killer whales, like taking down the mega yachts? That was the story for a while last year.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. uh, there's just all these like amazing thought processes that happen between these creatures living in the ocean that we, I think, are very quick to write off, but are also, if you look at them, like a very, in my opinion, like signs of high intelligent function.
Yeah, definitely. Place that scares me. I mean, I love swimming in the ocean, but I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah.
What's going on down there?
Right.
And I feel like everyone, who hasn't kind of been on a boat and just seen, like, you look out and you just see like a big shadow right under the water. And you're like, I don't know if that's just the clouds doing a little trick. Is it a big piece of seaweed? Is it something totally explainable?
Oh, hold on. Sorry. My phone just went crazy. I don't know if you heard it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. We're under a flash flood watch, but we're not going to have a flash flood. Like where we physically are. Where
are you guys based?
We're on higher ground. So we're in Huntsville, Alabama.
Nice.
But like our house is not at risk for a flash flood.
You got, who knows what's in that water.
Sorry, let me get refocused here for a second. Yeah, or even going back to, a couple minutes ago when we were talking about foreign life forms. Yeah, who knows what has inadvertently ended up in the ocean over time.
Right. So it crashed down and no one ever knew.
Yeah.
Most likely to hit ocean, I'd say. You're just picking a spot on the planet by chance.
Yeah. I could be making this up, but like the Chesapeake Bay, isn't that supposedly like where a meteor landed?
Is that it? I know there's a Chesapeake monster, right? Like Chessie or something, but is that supposed to be the origin?
Yeah, I think that's where a meteor landed, or I think the Yucatan as well is where meteor landed.
I think that's the one that took out the dinosaurs in the Yucatan. Also, that is where I went swimming with whale sharks.
Cool. Should we talk about another one?
Or that's all I got.
That's
water-based ones. Then I'm all ears.
No. What do you have? Any water-based ones, Rainey?
No.
Off the top of your head, no.
I do think one other thing I'll mention. I don't obviously have the details of this, but it's interesting that if you kind of go deep in any mythology, it does feel like this is a common theme as well, right? Like even I think like Leviathan, isn't that from the Bible? And that's basically I may be completely messing. Yeah, it's a biblical creature, biblical sea monster, right? Like a lot of when I was looking this up, it's like, oh, this is Norse mythology. This is, Cthulhu or whatever, which I don't even know what the origin, that might just be H.G. Wells. But it's just interesting that this always shows up, right? This is like a common theme in kind of all mythology or even religion-based texts. So it's just weird that everyone kind of came up with the same ideas organically.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of overlapping beliefs like that. And each one is sort of seen through the culture that describes it. But that initial thought had to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like it didn't just appear out of nowhere in all these different cultures around the world.
Exactly.
Initially linked to each other.
Universal is the sea monster. And maybe that's just because people always knew that the sea was terrifying. And so they all kind of manufactured it by themselves. But they all sort of look the same too. There's always tentacles involved.
Yeah. But, there's all sorts of myths about the sea. But like, from mermaids to... I think even in Christopher Columbus's journals, he wrote about seeing mermaids and was like, yeah, they're actually pretty ugly. Like they are not attractive.
Yeah.
There's just, the sea is just a vast and amazing place.
I'm looking it up now. It says, he famously noted the mermaids were not half as beautiful as they are painted.
Yeah.
Okay. Disappointment for Columbus.
Yeah. But there's even overlap on like non-ocean going creatures as well within the greater whatever.
Right. Like a Yeti versus a Bigfoot, right? They're completely different continents.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But also like goblins and fae and like trolls.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not trolls, but like I'm trying to think of what a good term would be. Almost like not
Folklore,
leprechauns, but like leprechauns.
folklore
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we did an interview, it hasn't aired yet. We did an interview with these sisters, and they were talking about little people and the role little people hold within their beliefs, which transcribes over to European belief systems as well for rights and brownies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just amazing that all these different cultures from all over the world have these beliefs or have these creatures, beings, whatever, that are very similar to each other, but without having that interlocking, like physical connection.
And the other thing to keep, I know we're talking kind of high level now, but the other thing I feel like to keep in mind with all of this is how many species, especially large species, have gone extinct because of human impact in the last 150 years. So there's all these ancient sightings now. No one believes in them because, everyone has cameras on their phone and no one's ever actually caught a picture of it. Like, maybe it existed, right? And then for some reason or another, it went extinct 100 years ago. Yeah. It's an option.
Right.
I'm still thinking about when Randy said he doesn't believe in any of these cryptids. There's got to be one you believe in. Come on.
I know that there's something out there, but I don't really think that, like... I mean, I think Bigfoot might exist.
Okay.
And they use the caves to hide.
I think the most convincing thing I've heard on that front is that someone mapped the sightings with where the environment would have been able to sustain like an animal of that size, and it was almost like a 1-for-1. Like all the sightings happened just in this one section where like something like that could live. Sorry, we're jumping all over the place. I'm fascinated by it all.
No. Like we can cover everything again. It's all good. So one of the things you brought up earlier was like the Bible and the Leviathan, right? Mm-hmm. And the Bible talks about like all sorts of really interesting creatures.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that many.
Yeah.
I haven't done a deep dive.
Like there was the behemoth, the Leviathan, like you already said.
The Ziz.
What's that?
Z-I-Z. Yeah.
Ooh, what's that? That sounds like a Dr. Seuss thing.
Yeah.
Oh, there was the whale that swallowed Jonah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, unicorn.
The Ziz, a giant griffin-like bird in Jewish mythology. Cool.
Yeah, the talking snake in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there's a talking donkey. It's called Balaam's donkey.
Okay.
Something called the behemoth, which is a massive land creature.
Rahab, that's how you pronounce that. Sea monster, arrogant abyss.
Dang, that's a lot. I didn't realize that. I mean, the Bible, it's one book, or I guess 2 books, but it's just like the extended universe. So this is all in the main text.
No, so like in Genesis 6, it talks about the Nephilim, which are the fallen ones, are giants born from the union of the sons of God and the daughters of men.
Interesting. I mean, it shows that this stuff has been fascinating people for all of time.
It talks about the basilisk.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The cockatrice. What else? Leviathan.
The chimera.
Oh, sure. Heard that one.
What else? Locusts with human faces.
Dang.
Yeah.
I guess at least
they're all
at least one of these disciples, who wrote the Bible, at least one of them was big into this. And let's put another one in. I love that. That's very cool. I think it just shows the show. This has been fascinating for all time, and the fact that a lot of these tend to sort of fall into a couple different types, right? There's always like the sort of Loch Ness monster type. There's like probably 50 of those, and the kind of ape man, like Bigfoot type, and then there's always the sea monster, like sea serpent. It's interesting. That's always sort of so similar.
Yeah, and I guess going back to the original topic of this is just the ocean and just how much we don't know about it.
Exactly.
Like we've explored more of outer space than we have the ocean.
Right.
We've mapped more of the moon than we have the ocean floor. So who knows what's out there or down there or whatever.
Yeah. Our only hope is, what's his name? James Cameron. Isn't he always going down there?
He is.
We'll wait to see what he finds.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Rainy, do you have anything else?
Don't be like the squonk.
Don't be like the squonk. Yeah.
What's that?
Cool. Oh, the squonk.
Yeah.
So the squonk is we talked about that in our first episode. So the squonk is a cryptid from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's a pitiful creature.
Sure.
And basically it's never been really captured because whenever it sees somebody looking at it, or even whenever it sees a reflection of itself, it believes that it's so ugly that it starts crying, and it cries so much that it dissolves into a puddle of its own tears.
So don't be like the squonk. That's like believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to start saying that to
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Way to say it.
Yeah. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking us on this underwater fueled journey today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you ever want to come back on and talk about more things,
Of course.
just
Yeah,
let
the
us
thing
know.
about
We'd love
me
to have
is
you.
I have no first person accounts and no, I would say, deep knowledge of anything specific, but such a big interest that I will dive into anything. So if you're like, hey, there's this obscure thing, that's found only in Laos, but we want a third person to come on and talk about it, I will come prepared to discuss it.
Awesome. Cool. We appreciate it.
Cool.
Well, with that, signing off. Thank everybody for listening. We appreciate y'all. As Rainey just said, to say it again.
Don't be like the squonk.
And don't pee in fairy circles. And until next time, friends, we are out.